Welcome into Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham, and we are live here on YouTube. And got some news that we're going to get to today. But hey, when Super Chats come in, we got to make that the priority. Shout out David Schilcher with the $10 super. Appreciate it, my man. He says, Harrison, you are the GOAT on here. Let's start it right. FGB, prayers for Damar Hamlin. Absolutely, prayers for Hamlin. And I've got NFL Network pulled up in the studio here, so if there's any new updates, we will pass that along. The latest is signs of improvement, remains in critical condition, but things seem to be ticking in the right direction. We'll keep you guys in the loop with all of that, and I encourage you guys to go donate to his foundation if you can. It's almost reached $6.5 million. That's pretty incredible. But prayers up to Damar Hamlin. Our thoughts remain with him. Thank you for the super chat, David. We appreciate the support. Shout out your city and let us know where you guys are watching from. We are here in our Dallas, Texas studios, but let us know where you guys are watching from. Appreciate you guys understanding why we didn't want to go live yesterday as well. What's up, Jeremy, in the chat? Fortnite Man says Chicago, be first forever. In the chat, Robert says Chicago. Darnell says Chicago. George says Buda, Illinois. We got the Grinch in Tampa. Mississippi in the house from Anthony. Ben in Springfield, Illinois. Busy in Waterbury, Connecticut. We got Jesus in McAllen, Texas, down in the valley. I've been to McAllen before. Markel in Houston. We got Joante in Iowa. I'm a Bot says San Diego. Nebraska City from Sharon on vacation in Farttown, Missouri. Is that actual place, Farttown, Missouri? Sam Ortiz in Kenosha. We may have to get producer Rolly on that. Can you look that up, Rolly? Farttown, Missouri. Is that a real place? Mike Feeney in Connecticut. Roger in Fort Worth. Go Frogs, baby. National title in 5 days. Let's go. Kenny in Lawrenceville, Illinois. We got Arnold in Arizona, Cameron in Memphis, Isaac in Dallas. Apopka, Florida is where Francisco is. Jesus says, come back, have a beer. I may have to sometime, Jesus. May have to take you up on that. Jeff in Nashville, Indiana. We got Josh in Arkansas. Jesus saying FGB. Fort Worth, go Frogs from Sequata. Let's get it, baby. 5 days. 5 days. Counting down the days. Nick in Cardiff, UK. We got Dylan in Florida. Dennis in New York. West Chicago from Elizor. Joe in the chat says, let him break Lamar Jackson's record than send him out. Yeah, the news is Justin Fields not going to play in Week 18. So we'll explain further details, but that's what it is. $2 super chat from Alex Ammerling. Number one pick, here we come. Yeah, I mean, the tank could be fully on at this point. You've lost 9 in a row. What's one more? I mean, you might as well lose 10 in a row and have a chance at the number one pick, so we'll see what happens. Poppy Chulo says San Antonio. Shouting out your city. Appreciate the super chats. They are always very, very appreciated on this show. We also appreciate our sponsors here at Bears Now, and shout out to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's show. As, look, we should all look at different ways to save money, right? You know, things are expensive these days, and if you download Rocket Money at rocketmoney.com/bearsnow, great app to help you keep track of your expenses and your overall finances, your upcoming bills. And a unique thing that Rocket Money does that some other financial apps don't is they allow you to cancel subscriptions very easily with the single click of a button. What it will do is Rocket Money will show you all of your subscriptions on one screen. It'll list them out: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever else you're paying for. If you have any, subscriptions to online, sports media companies, whatever the case may be, and you'll see exactly how much per month you're spending, and then you can say, whoa, I need to cut back a little bit. I'm going to cancel this one. You click the cancel button next to the ones you don't want, and then they cancel those unwanted subscriptions for you. You're going to be saving money every single month, up to hundreds of dollars per month. I mean, most people think they spend $75, $80 a month on subscriptions. In reality, you're probably spending well over $200. Download the app today, rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. It is rocketmoney.com/bearsnow, and save money with Rocket Money today. All right, we'll keep this going, and then we'll dive into this injury news in a moment, but we'll kind of explore it here as well. Is sitting Justin Fields this week the right decision? Type Y for yes, type in for no. The only thing that even makes it somewhat conflicting, and by the way, I do think yes is the answer, is, yeah, he's 64 yards away from setting a single-season rushing record for a quarterback. Does that stink he's not going to get that? Yeah, but at what cost? I mean, Matt Eberflus revealed that Fields had an MRI, that there's a strain. It's not a serious injury, but you're 3-13, your quarterback is taking a beating, especially as of late. Just sit him down. Shut it down. It's the right decision. It just is. It just is. So vote on the poll. Levante says yes. Be First says no. Money Mitch says yes. Amos says no. Dion says yes. Busy says no. Sharon, yes. Dylan, no. Hell yes from Koki. Yeah, I mean, 3/4 of you guys are saying yes. I think that is the way to go. And I just think, you know, if obviously if this was a playoff spot on the line, Fields would be out there. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I've seen what I need to from Fields. To me, he's the quarterback going into next year. There's just no reason to risk it. Now, losing this game guarantees you a top 2 pick. No matter what happens in Week 18, the Bears are getting a top 4 pick. What do you guys think? Which pick will the Bears get? Number 1 pick? To get that, they got to lose, and the Texans got to win. Number 2 pick, if they lose, they're in. If they win, then they need both Arizona and Arizona and Denver to win as well. That seems unlikely. If the Bears win and only one of those teams loses, they'd get the 3rd pick. If the Bears win and both those teams lose, they would get the 4th pick. But to simplify it, if they lose, they're guaranteed a top 2 pick. If they lose and the Texans win, they get the 1st pick. What do you guys think? Amos says 1st pick. Dylan says 2. Alex 1. Travis and Jeremy 2. 2 is the most likely scenario, by the way. Brian says 2. George says 2. G Station says 1. Dion says 2. Mike Feeney says 2. Edward 2. Robert 1 or 2. I'd say 1 from Nathan. Levante says 1. Darnell says 1. So I think it'll probably be 2, but during our watch party on Sunday, which will be live in Los Angeles, I'm going to the national championship game. Me, producer Jack will be out there, and our 2 bosses will be with us as well. We will monitor the Bears game, of course, but also keep tabs on that Texans-Colts game, which is also going to be at noon Central Time as well. Now, can I get a bear down in the comments right now? I mean, come on. Get the bear downs going. Get the energy up, and let's have a day here. Bear down in the comment section below. Let's make it happen. Bring the good vibes here, and I'll get some shout-outs. Jay says bear down. I am Jung says bear down. Alex, Travis, we got George Culver, Dylan, Busy, Money Mitch, Robert Brushabear, Francisco, Roger. We got Henderson, Michael, Nunnut. We've got Jim Watson, Money Mitch, Maurice, Anthony, Mike Feeney, Letterman, Mikey, Joe Richards, Justin, Alex, Letterman, all saying bear down. Keep it going. And before we jump into today's show, make sure you guys are liking the video. We got 38 likes right now, 244 people watching. Let's double that. Let's get to 75 likes here before we start today's show, and then we'll dive into this Justin Fields injury news and kind of discuss the NFL draft scenarios heading into Week 18. So keep that in mind as well. Henderson says prayers up to Mars Hamlin. Yes, absolutely. Thoughts remain with Hamlin and his family. Sounds like things are trending up, so we'll continue to monitor that, and we just hope for the best and hope things work out there. Philip, Brandon, Levante saying bear down. Like this video. Once we cross 75 likes, we will jump on into today's show. Someone says JJ retired. Yeah, JJ Watt did retire. I think he's done. His last game will be on Sunday. So hit that like button. We're jumping in here. I see 70 likes, 74. Just need one more. And then producer Rolly will start this show shortly after that. So like the video and we will be good. Philip says he liked it. Oh, 83, big jump there. All right, I am Harrison Graham, producer Rolly in with us today. We're going to answer a lot of your questions later, so hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. But first, let's jump into the news of the day. Justin Fields not going to play in Week 18. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. And on today's show, breaking-ish news. I think there was always a chance that this could happen, but it is official. Quarterback Justin Fields is out for Week 18. Matt Eberflus hinted at this on Monday, and today he made it official by announcing that Fields will not play against the Vikings on Sunday, and it doesn't sound like it's just a pure sitting him out thing. It's somewhat injury-related. I think just the beating that he's taken this season has added up. He told reporters today, I've got this in tweet form from Brad Biggs, saying that Eberflus said Justin Fields came in Monday morning with a sore hip, had an MRI that shows a strain. He has been ruled out for Sunday's game. Nathan Peterman will start. Eberflus did add that it is not a long-term injury for Fields. So here's what it is. If the Bears had to win this game or something to make the playoffs, I fully expect that he would be out there, but at what cost, right? This is the right decision to shut him down for a couple of reasons. One, you can't risk a major injury to your quarterback heading into the offseason. I've seen enough that he's the guy at least heading into next year. And two, the other reason this is the right decision is, let's be honest, putting Nathan Peterman out there makes it a little easier to lose this game and secure a top 2 pick and maybe even the number 1 overall pick. You applaud Justin for his season, still has a ways to go, but I think with what he was given, with the pieces around him, he did just about everything that he could. So I think shutting him down was the right call. Big year for him next year, big offseason to build around him for the Bears, but I think calling it a season is the right move. Now, what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree with me? Is sitting Justin Fields this week the right decision? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I believe it is. We'll make this the pin comment on today's show. So drop a Y for yes and in for no. Is sitting Justin Fields this week the right call? You look at his season now that it has concluded, 15 games, because he did miss that game against the Jets, won't play this week, so 2 missed games for Fields this year. Just over 60%. That number dipped down from about 62. He had a tough outing this past week, just went 7 of 21. I think he was under pressure on literally every single play. Obviously, the passing volume has to go up moving forward. 2,200 yards in today's NFL is not going to cut it. I think the Bears know that. I think Fields knows that. He doesn't necessarily have to be a 4,000, 4,500-yard guy, but it's got to be over 3,000 next year. This team will still run the ball a lot. Fields will still run the ball a lot. Do like the TD interception. That's decent. 17-11 QB rating, up over 10 points from last year, and that's with arguably worse pieces around him. The rushing was obviously fantastic, and that is a downside of him sitting in Week 18. As he finishes with 1,143 yards and 8 touchdowns rushing on the year. 63 yards shy of tying Lamar's QB single-season rushing record, 64 yards shy of breaking it. That is kind of a downside, if there is one, to resting him here. But, again, you can't prioritize some individual record in a lost season at risk of further injury. It's not worth it. Let him rest up. He, by the end of that game last week, he just looked beaten down. Like, I just think he needs the rest, and that's going to be the right decision long term. Hit that subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now if you want more Chicago Bears news and rumors. The offseason coverage is going to heat up over the next several days, so subscribe today. Don't miss any of it here at Bears Now. It's youtube.com/Bears Now. More news, rumors, free agency, draft coverage. Going to be a busy offseason. We're going to be your coverage for all of it. Now, you look and kind of shift toward the draft discussion, right? Because I mentioned it earlier. You sit Fields, makes it easier to lose this game. Smart decision health-wise, but also helps you lose, which I think at this point, I know a lot of you guys have not been on Team Tank, but I think with 1 week to go, are we in agreement? It's time to lose. Like, if you can't accept that losing this week is better, I don't know what to tell you, because if the Bears lose, they're guaranteed a top 2 pick, and they could still get the number 1 pick. No matter what, they're getting a top 4 pick. Even if they win, they will get the 4th pick at worst, which is a good place to be. About 6 weeks ago, when this downturn really kind of heated up, and you're like, yeah, they're obviously not going to make the playoffs, I was like, you got to be at least in the top 4. Well, now, if you lose, you're guaranteed a top 2, and you still have a chance at the number 1 pick. These are the scenarios for Chicago. To get the number 1 pick, Houston has to win and the Bears have to lose. That's not impossible. To get the number 2 pick, there's 2 different ways. Obviously, if the Bears lose, they get number 2 at least no matter what. Texans also lose or tie, they would get the number 2 pick. A way for the Bears to get the number 2 pick if they win is if they win, both Arizona and Denver have to win. Seems unlikely. If Arizona or Denver, just one of them wins and the Bears win, that would be the 3rd pick. If the Bears win and both the Cardinals and Broncos lose, then that's how they fall to the 4th pick, which obviously at this point you don't want. You would rather just lose and get a top 2 pick at this point in time. Those are the scenarios, but this is why it's important to lose this week, because then you're a top 2 pick, and that gives you more flexibility moving forward. Now, what pick do you guys think the Bears will end up getting? 1, 2, 3, or 4? The most likely is 2. If I had to rank it, I'd say 2's most likely. 1 is second most likely, but decent turn down from 2. And then 3 and 4 is close to the same. I think both Denver and Arizona will likely lose, but 2 definitely most likely. What do you guys think? What pick do you think the Bears will end up getting? Now, more discussion on this in a second, and why getting the first or second pick would be huge for this franchise, but it's also huge to save money when you can, right? And Rocket Money is going to help you do that by canceling any unnecessary subscriptions that you may have, and also help you keep track of your overall expenses and finances. Did you know that 80% of us think we're spending less than $100 per month on subscriptions? Reality is most of us spending over $200. Rocket Money is going to show you all of your subscriptions on one screen and tell you how much you're spending per month on each of those. So you'll see Netflix, $20 a month, Prime Video, $12 a month, whatever it is, Spotify, $10 a month, and you'll add it up and you'll probably find that, oh my God, I'm spending $240 a month. I got to cut that down. And so what Rocket Money allows you to do is cancel any unnecessary subscriptions or any unwanted subscriptions moving forward. You click the cancel button next to any of those, they take care of the rest for you. You don't have to deal with customer service from any company that's going to try and talk you into staying with them and keep giving you or having you give them your money. Cut back on your costs. Cancel those subscriptions, and that's going to leave you in a good place financially moving forward. Go to rocketmoney.com/bears now to download the Rocket Money app for free. That link is in the description and in the comments of this video. It's rocketmoney.com/bears now. Now, getting the number 1 pick, make no mistake, it would be franchise changing for the Chicago Bears, because look, we're going to explore this on a future video. There's all these talks. Oh, trade Fields, draft a new quarterback. I don't think there's any chance that happens. I wouldn't do it. I don't think the Bears are going to do it. But if they get the number 1 pick and already have their quarterback, that's a very unique spot to be, because you look at the QB prospects in this draft, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Will Levis especially. Anthony Richardson, I don't think he's going top 3, but I'll throw him on the graphic. Teams are going to call to want to draft one of these first 3 guys, especially Young and Stroud, in my opinion. Teams are going to make that call. Hey, Chicago, what do you want? And if you get the number 1 pick, it's the most valuable, because even Houston at number 2 would be like, well, if we're in love with Bryce Young and we for sure want to get him, then we have to trade up, because another QB-needy team could leapfrog Houston to the number 1 pick. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens this week in the NFL and to see what pick the Bears end up getting. But if they get the number 1 pick, they hold the cards to the entire draft, and that's a very, very exciting spot to be in for this NFL draft. Now, key Week 18 games involving picks 1 through 4 here. Vikings at Bears, obviously, you want to lose this game. I'm not afraid to say it. It just is what it is at this point. Texans at Colts. Obviously, if the Texans win and you lose, the Bears lose, Bears get the number 1 pick, so we'll be monitoring that one. The second 2 games involving Denver and Arizona, only have to worry about those if the Bears were to win. Those are in the afternoon slate, so if for some reason the Bears win, we'll kind of monitor what those teams do and see if the Bears have the second, third, or fourth pick. But hopefully the Bears just lose their game, and we'll know at the end of the noon slate if they're going to have the number 1 or the number 2 pick. Go Texans, go. Go Lovie, go. Come on, Lovie Smith. Do the Bears one more solid. You were a great coach in Chicago once. I don't think Lovie Smith can be affording to lose intentionally here. And by the way, the Colts stink. It's Sam Ehlinger. Come on, Davis Mills. If you want to be anything in this league, you have to beat Sam Ehlinger in this game. So go Texans, go. Let's make this happen. How hyped would you be if the Bears got the number 1 pick? If you can't tell by my increased voice inflection there, I would be incredibly hyped. Scale of 1 to 100, I'd be at 100, hell, higher than 100. 1 being, who cares? Who needs the number 1 pick? Come on. You want the number 1 pick. Let me know, how hyped would you be if the Bears got the top pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's video. Justin Fields not playing Week 18. It will be Nathan Peterman. This is why you subscribe. We'll get you caught up on the latest news and rumors around the Chicago Bears. So hit that sub button, and we'll have you covered here on Bears Now. All right, we'll get some shout-outs here. Maurice says 1 million. Justin says, I think, 10 million. Be mindful, and George say 100. If anyone's saying less than 100, then I don't know what's wrong. Dion, busy. Money Mitch, as hyped as Don Burr being left out of the basement. We don't know where Don Burr lives. Paleo says 100. Peloton says 100. 10,000 from Lucas. 100 from Eliezer. Robert says 100. Got to be hyped. Even if they get number 2, you're in a really good spot. That's why you got to lose this game. I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it, actually. Just say it with your chest. Lose on Sunday. It's okay to admit. It's okay to admit. All right, a couple mailbags here on today's live show. So use hashtag Bears, or you can super chat to get your questions on the show. It's hashtag Bears or super chat, and we will answer as many of your questions as we can. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Rolly says we need a lot more questions, so if you want to ask about free agency, draft, playoff scenarios, whatever the case may be, load them up. Use hashtag Bears or super chat to get those questions on the show, and we will be good to go here. Just put it in there. Use hashtag Bears for Q&A. And we will get to your questions, just like Dylan did, and Rom. Super chats, you get to skip the line, by the way, and shout out to everybody who super chatted earlier. So here we go. It's mailbag time on Bears Now. Let's get to it. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. On today's show, a little live Q&A action. We'll take your questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So load them up, hashtag Bears or super chat, and we will get to as many as we can. Appreciate Alex for sending in a $5 super chat. Rookie coaching mistake keeping Fields in the last 3 games. If we had a veteran coaching staff, more than likely Fields would have sat 3 weeks ago. I don't mind Fields playing the last few weeks. Got him some extra reps, learning opportunity, even taking a beating. It builds toughness, it builds character. I agree in the sense that I had seen everything I needed to, but I don't mind him playing. I think sitting him week 18 is the right decision. His injury, his hip issue isn't going to be something that lingers. A couple weeks off, he should be good to go. So I'll disagree. I think there are some coaching question marks you can have, but I don't mind that Fields has played up to this point. From Alex, appreciate the super. Honor JJ with the victory, Texans. Yeah, go Texans, go. I mean, come on. Got to beat the Colts if you're the Houston Texans and help out the Bears. Let's go, Lovie. Make it happen. Ricardo Guzman, Jets first and Garrett Wilson, or Vikings first and Adams. So you're saying like trade down one of those teams. I'm not trading number 1 or number 2 to the Jets for Garrett Wilson and like number 17 or whatever. That's way too far to drop down. Now, let's say the Raiders lose to the Chiefs on Sunday and have like the 7th pick and the Bears have the 2nd. Swap 2 and 7 and get Adams. We discussed this the other day. I'd still be hesitant because he makes $30 million a year and he's going to be 30 years old. But it is intriguing, right? It gives you an alpha male number 1 receiver. Claypool and Mooney can kind of be those secondary guys. And then the rest of your offseason is building the trenches. I'm not completely against that one. I don't think I would do it for Garrett Wilson, though. Nathan says, likely haul we get if we trade down from either number 1 or number 2. It depends how far the team trading with the Bears is moving up. Like, let's say it's the Panthers from like the number 8 pick moving up to 1 or 2. You're going to get their number 8 pick, for sure a first next year, maybe even another first, if not a second, and potentially another pick or 2 as well later in the draft. You're going to get a lot. If it's a team like 4 or 5, let's say the Bears get the first pick, right? And let's say the Colts are the 5th pick. You'll get number 5, probably their first next year, and maybe like a 3rd or something like that. And almost any scenario, unless it's Houston at 2, but maybe even Houston at 2 if they're desperate enough, you're getting at least 1 extra first-round pick. So you're going to get a lot. You are going to get a lot if you get a top 2 selection, especially if it's for a QB desperate team. Can I get a bear down going in the comments? I know it's been a tough year, but exciting times ahead. It's going to be a hectic offseason, over $110 million in cap space. Free agency is going to be wild. The draft could be epic if the Bears land the number 1 pick. I can't wait to see it all unfold, and we're going to cover you every step of the way. But if you support this team, if you support this channel, get the bear downs going in the comments. From Derek Runyon, if the Texans win, do the Colts jump up in the draft? Also, what are the options for future wide receivers? Should we trade back and get the TCU receiver? I do think, and I'll probably do a video like this probably next week, trade back draft candidates, regardless of where the Bears are. Guys they could draft if they trade back. Like Quentin Johnston, you're not drafting him if you have the number 2 pick. But if you trade back from 2 to 8, even like 2 to 6, he could be a guy you draft. Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnston. That's the thing. Like if the Bears keep a top 2 pick, they're almost certainly drafting one of 2 or 3 guys. You know, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, maybe a guy like Tyree Wilson or Miles Murphy moves up into that conversation. But I don't think any of the receivers or offensive linemen would move up into that top 2 or 3 pick discussion. So we'll definitely do a lot of trade back scenario videos. From Q Carrito, if we draft Quentin Johnston, does Mooney move to the slot? Maybe, or Claypool plays in the slot. Think about Johnston, too, and if you watch the TCU-Michigan game, that big kind of crossing, like long developing route that he caught for about a 50-yarder from Max Duggan, he was in the slot for that play. So he can line up in the slot some as well. I think what you'll see is all 3 of these receivers, if you were to get Johnston, are pretty versatile and multiple. You can play him outside. You can play him in the slot. I do think Mooney in the slot more makes some sense, but Claypool can do some of it. Although I like him better on the outside, Johnston can do some of it. But yeah, I mean, imagine Johnston and Claypool at 6'4" on the outside, and then Mooney with his route running ability in the slot. I mean, that could be a fun offense. Alex Dino, any third-round sleeper receivers, Parker Washington. I like Washington. I've seen him like 4th, 5th round in most scenarios. I actually cooked up a Bears mock draft that didn't quite get ready with this breaking news on Justin Fields here on our live show for Wednesday here, but so if you're watching live at this exact moment, we won't do the mock draft, but if you're watching this later in the week, go check out my last mock. Parker Washington might be a guy the Bears get in there, so I do like him as a potential option, kind of in the 4th round probably. Do you believe in Justin Fields? There's all kinds of wild rumors. Oh, they should trade him now. Draft Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. I'm a Fields guy. Type B for believe, type D for don't. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm definitely a believer in saving money, and I think whether you're rich or poor, I think that applies to all of us. It's always a good thing to save money, and Rocket Money is going to help you do that. Download the Rocket Money app today at rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. They're going to help you keep track of your expenses and help you not waste money because listen, most of us are wasting money on subscriptions that we don't even use. When I got going with Rocket Money about 6 weeks ago now, I found out, holy crap, I've been spending $25 every 3 months on Xbox Live. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? But you add that up over a year, that's $100 a year. I haven't played Xbox Live in 2 years, so I've lost about $200 up to this point, which, hey, that can add up over time. RocketMoney.com/BearsNow. Download the app for free. You can see all of your subscriptions on one screen, and then you make the decision on which ones you don't want to use anymore. You can keep track of your upcoming bills, your overall finances, and the cool thing about Rocket Money, too, is if you're like, okay, I don't want Netflix anymore, click cancel, and they're going to take care of it. You don't have to reach out to Netflix or whoever else or anything like that. They will cancel those subscriptions for you. RocketMoney.com/BearsNow. Optimize your finances, save money. You're going to be good to go. Link in the description and in the comments of this video. Joe Oliva, $10. Appreciate the super chat. Bears haven't had the number 1 pick since 1947. An Alabama player hasn't gone first overall since 1948. What do you think the odds are that we draft Will Anderson and end both these streaks? It's certainly possible. And look, we all keep thinking the Bears are going to trade down. It's not a given. If they don't get the offer they like, they won't. If they love a player enough that they think, hey, I know we got 4, 5, 6 positional needs, but this guy is going to change our franchise, then they will do that. I mean, they will. That is the route that they will go and draft that player, and Will Anderson could be that guy. So I think it's possible. It's somewhat unlikely from the beginning, Joe, because the Texans have to lose for the Bears to get that number 1 pick, which could happen, but is not a guarantee. But yeah, Anderson's going to be in that discussion if the Bears pick at 1, 2, 3, or 4 as a guy that they could take. From Nixon, please, Harrison and all Bears fans, stop trying to turn Braxton Jones to right tackle. Just draft a right tackle or sign one in free agency. Please stop. I don't think I've once said they need to move him to right tackle. What I have said is I like how he's played at left tackle, and I would probably keep him there. But if they want to move him to right tackle and think he can play there, then sure. But that's information the Bears have. I don't have that information up to this point. Eberflus and Poles have never publicly said, yeah, we're comfortable with him at right tackle. So I have just hypothetically said, hey, if you think there's a better left tackle option up there and you think he can play right tackle, then sure, that could be a possibility. But I've never sat up here and said, yeah, you just need to move him to right tackle and get a different left tackle. I've never once insinuated that. Busy Womack, would you rather go to free agency or the draft to fix the secondary? I don't think the secondary needs fixing. I think it needs to improve, obviously. I mean, Eddie Jackson being out the back half of this season certainly is hurt. Jaquan Brisker played pretty well as a rookie. Certainly needs to improve, but I thought he's played really well. Jalen Johnson, when he was out there for the most part, outside of a couple of games where he played through injuries, was solid. Kyler Gordon finished the year pretty strong. I think you probably need another corner. Maybe you get another safety as a depth guy. But I think, the young guys need to improve. If Brisker and Gordon kind of take that second-year leap and build off good rookie seasons, especially in Brisker's case, for Gordon, kind of the last month he finished strong, was up and down before that, then that's good. Get another corner to be your third corner, and you're good to go. I actually think the front seven is a much bigger problem than the secondary is. Subscribe to Chicago Bears Now, because I'll tell you what, free agency draft, it's going to be lit here on this channel, and you're not going to want to miss any of it. So hit that sub button. Don't miss any of it here at Chicago Bears Now, youtube.com/BearsNow. We're going to have you covered all off season long. From Bobby Ray, would Davenport be a good defensive end target in free agency? Yeah, Marcus Davenport. I think so. I think he's a guy you could get for less than you would have a year ago, because last year he had a great year. This year, not so much. I think he could be a guy that's still going to be expensive-ish, but it's not like he's going to cost $25 million a year or something like that. Maybe 10 to 15, depending on what his market ends up being. But yeah, he's a guy that even in a down year this year, he'd be your best defensive end right now. There's probably very little doubt to that. From Ellis McCarthy, for the pessimistic, there is hope. Remember the Cowboys with Jimmy Johnson, 1989, 1-15, 92 and 93 Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not ready to sit here and say the Bears are going to win 3 out of 4 Super Bowls anytime soon, but I do think there's reasons to be optimistic. I like a lot of what we've seen from Justin Fields. Does he need to continue to improve? Of course he does. Does the passing volume need to go up? Yeah. But let's get pieces around him and see if he can take off, because he did a lot of special things this year with very little around him at the offensive line position and at wide receiver. Javon Sago, who is the best receiver in the draft for the Bears after the first and second round? Oh, gosh, it's hard to think like later in the draft. Let me just see. NFL draft. Let's just see if I can get a couple names here. Just a couple names as we go here. You look at guys like, is a guy like Zay Flowers going to fall to the third round? He's probably going round 2. Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State could be someone in that category. I think Josh Downs is going round 2. Some think he could go round 3. But I think he's going to be a round 2 guy. I think like mid-late first to like mid-late second, that's like the sweet spot. That's where you can find a lot of receivers in this draft. That's why if you trade down, I mean, you get maybe 3 to 4 picks in the top 60, you're going to have some versatility there. So we'll see what happens, but it is a deep wide receiver class once again. Appreciate all the questions. If we didn't get them answered, well, hit me up on social media, at HGramNFL on Twitter, at HGramNFL on Instagram. That is where you can follow me and ask me your questions as well. I tend to get back to you guys pretty quickly over there, so give me a follow and hit me up on both of those platforms. All right, do you guys believe in A.T. Perry? Good call as well. Do you guys believe in Justin Fields? B for believe, D for don't. B for believe, D for don't. Ryan, Kip, Q Carrito, Dylan, Slater, all saying B. So is that boy Diz, Hummus, Robert, Dion, Chicago Bears fan, George Culver, William, Scott Tro, Dave, Javon, Aaron, Rampage. Get those B's in. I believe in him. I think he's the guy, and I don't see why we wouldn't feel that way at this point. Obviously, Don Burr is going to type don't in the chat, but I would expect nothing less from Donnie Boy, if we're being completely honest. So, all right, B for believe, D for don't. One more time, hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Chicago Legend, we'll start with your Super Chat in this mailbag. So Appreciate that. If you guys want to jump the line, use hashtag or use super chat. Other way to get on the show is to use hashtag Bears. So we'll get to as many of your questions as we can, and then we will send this show on loop. So hashtag Bears or super chat, and let's jump into this mailbag. Before we answer all your questions on today's mailbag video, help us reach 58,000 subscribers on Chicago Bears Now. We're less than 200 away. Your support has been awesome. I know over 50% of people that watch have not subscribed. So, hey, let's get that number up. It's free. How about this? Make a deal with you. Subscribe. Give us a week. If you don't like our content, you can unsubscribe. Deal? It's free. No risk, high reward. Let's make it happen. Hit that sub button here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, and it is mailbag time here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. So use the hashtag Bears function or super chat to get your questions in, and that way producer Rolly can get your questions on the show. From Chicago Legend, could we get both Texans firsts with the number 1 pick? So in that scenario, they would have picks like 2 and 12, 2 and 13, something like that. Depends on what happens with the Browns in Week 18. But, I mean, potentially, I doubt Houston would trade 2 top 15 picks to move up from 2 to 1. But if they're desperate enough for one of the quarterbacks, if they like one of the quarterbacks that much more than some of the other ones, then sure, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Interesting. Did that really just happen? All right, so we'll jump back into this mailbag in a second. Bit of news here. The Bears just extended Equanimous St. Brown, so there's a receiver back for next year. 1 year, $1.25 million. I mean, if he's your wide receiver 4 or 5, I actually like that. He knows the system. Have they pushed out that VOD yet, Rolly? Yeah, they just did. That's okay. It won't be part of a cut or anything. But just wanted to hit that news real quick. Equanimous St. Brown, 1 year, $1.25 million. If you guys shaking your head, I mean, that's no cap penalty or anything like that. He can be your wide receiver 4 or 5. He knows the system. 1 year, 1.25. I mean, I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine. He's not going to come back and be your number 2. So I think that's good to go. So. Yeah, we're going to restart this mailbag here. I do want to re-answer this question, though, from Chicago Legend, so we'll start it over with him here. You don't have to make this social. We'll kind of just verbally mention it before we send it to Loop again as well. But Equanimous St. Brown back on a 1 year deal. I'll update the poll here, and that way they can interact there. Do you like the Equanimous St. Brown 1 year, 2.5 extension? Yes, no. Go vote on the live poll. Do you guys like EQ being back next year for 1 year and $1.25 million? I like it. I mean, number 4 receiver, number 5. I mean, that's that type of money there. So good for EQ. He did enough good things this year to be in Flus's and Eberflus's or Flus's and Poll's good list. So. Good for him. All right, let's restart this mailbag. We'll answer Chicago's question once again here. Oh, wait. We need to do the still need to do the Coldy here. Yeah, I still want that in there. So we'll get to this mailbag here in just a second. Appreciate you guys for being paid. Oh, if you're going to splice it, okay. We're good to go. All right, I'm going to reset here. It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. We are set to answer all of your questions. Appreciate any super chats that come through. You can also use the hashtag Bears. From Chicago Legend, could we get both Texans firsts with the number 1 pick? So, if the Texans don't get the number 1 pick and the Bears do, the Texans will have the number 2 pick, and somewhere between like the 9th and 14th pick, depending on what the Browns do in Week 18. So is it possible? Maybe. I doubt the Texans would trade up to number 1 by moving 2 top 15 picks just by moving up 1 slot. But if they like one of the quarterbacks way more than the other ones, then they might. That's why getting the number 1 pick maximizes your value if you're Chicago. From Brandon, with Poles being very patient in free agency last year, do you think he will do the same approach or start spending big on day one? Well, if you remember last year, he threw out a big contract to Larry Ogunjobi on day one. That deal just happened to fall through because Ogunjobi failed his physical. I don't think Poles is just going to throw out reckless money on day one to 6 different free agents, but I think he'll probably identify 1 or 2 that he really likes and try to get a deal done for some big-time players, and then he'll be patient after that. I don't expect, just because the Bears have crazy money, for him to be reckless. He flat out told us that's not his philosophy, but obviously the Bears have to reach the salary cap floor, which they're going to have over $110 million in cap space, so they're going to have to spend a decent amount of that money. From L2 Cloud, EQ signed a contract. Yes, if you're watching this mailbag later in the week, Equanimous St. Brown, 1 year, $1.25 million extension. I think he earned it. That's cheap money. He's a solid. He proved to me this year he can be a solid number 4, number 5 receiver. Good blocker, knows the offense. I got no problem with that whatsoever. I just don't want him to be a number 2 or even a number 3 next year, which, with luck and some smart business maneuvering, that will not be the case. Dylan Peterson, who do you think the Bears take with the first or second pick if they don't trade down? I mean, if they don't trade down and they don't draft a quarterback, which I don't expect them to, I mean, I think you're looking at Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Miles Murphy, maybe Tyree Wilson in that conversation. Will another name or 2 enter that conversation, with a strong combine and pro day workouts? Maybe. Typically guys do get into the mix that we weren't necessarily expecting, but I think there's 4 or 5 guys in that top 2 or 3 mix right now, and maybe that number expands between now and April. From Patty, would you trade down to 6 or 7 and draft Brian Bresee? Yeah, potentially. I think he's a really good defensive tackle out of Clemson. I think that's about the range where I would start to draft him. I think he's 6 to 10 probably, somewhere in there right now. He could move up. He could be a guy that gets higher up in that conversation potentially, but I like him a lot. Get an extra first-round pick, trade down, get Bresee. Yeah, I think that's something that could be on the table. Now, grade Justin Fields' second NFL season. It is in the books. He will not play against the Vikings on Sunday. A, B, C, D, or F. How do you guys feel about Justin Fields' second NFL season? Let us know down in the comments section. From Garrett Hanley, Daron Payne is a franchise tag candidate. He is. What are the odds he would be a tag and trade for Washington? What would you be willing to give up for him? I don't know if I would trade for him because Washington's going to want at least a second, maybe a first. You're obviously not going to trade a top 2 pick. You could trade 2024 first, but do you want to do that? I don't know. If he gets tagged, kind of think he's out of play for Chicago. But if he doesn't, he's a guy that I think Poles would throw big money at potentially. Javon Hargrave in Philadelphia, kind of the same boat. So we'll see. Those 2 guys could definitely get tagged by Washington and Philadelphia, and if they do, we'll see what the Bears pivot to. You gotta be willing to react quickly if you're a general manager. From Gabriel Coates, is there a position in the draft that you would double or triple dip? I would double dip receiver, maybe like second round and 4th or 5th. I would definitely double dip offensive line, same deal, maybe first round or second, also 3rd, 4th, 5th as well. Defensive line, maybe 2 edges, maybe 2 defensive tackles. There's 2-3 positions I would double dip on for sure. Gucarito, what would it take for you to take Bijan Robinson? Oh, goodness. If you get a massive haul and a trade down, like multiple firsts, a second, a third, I mean, even then, though, as fun as he would be, I don't see a scenario where the Bears make that move. They have too many needs to spend a first-round pick on Bijan. Now, if he somehow falls to the second round and teams across the league are just like, we're not drafting a running back in the first round, maybe that changes things. But I can't imagine the Bears are a team that would draft him. Ryan R., who will be the top free agents the Bears will target? I mean, Payne and Hargrave are my top 2 guys. I think if you could somehow get one of them to come in and play 3 tech, that would be huge. Do you go after a Marcus Davenport, Mike McGlinchey at right tackle? There's a few other offensive linemen I like as well. I'm blanking on some of them off the top of my head, but there's guys. Juju at receiver is a guy I would look at. McCole Hardman, a speedster with Kansas City, is a guy I would look at. So there's guys. There's more than I'm mentioning too. Just kind of got a blank going on right now. Be sure to download the Callin app and follow us on Bears Now. Subscribe for free, as very similar to Twitter Spaces. It's, I go live. You guys can call into the show, hop in the caller queue, and you guys ask me your questions, and we go back and forth. It's a lot of fun. I love doing Q&As on YouTube, but I love answering and listening to you guys talk and go back and forth. That's, kind of takes that to the next level there. So download the app for free. We'll have the download links in the description of the video, and you could also search us on your computer as well, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. From Patty, would you rather have Claypool or draft Kayshon Boutte or Jackson Smith and Jigba with that pick? I still think Jigba goes round 1. Maybe he falls to the second round, but Boutte, we don't know nearly enough, but there could be some kind of character concern there. There's a lot of rumors going on with LSU right now. I think a lot of it is hearsay at this point, but, he also didn't have a great year. I don't know exactly where he'll go in the draft, but I like both prospects. I still like Claypool, though. I want to see, how this works. I think it's way too early to say the Bears whiffed on that trade. Now, if he doesn't play well next year, then, yeah, the Bears lost the trade, no doubt. Say Shy City, rather have elite talent and Will Anderson at number 2 or trade down for their tier 2 talents? Well, it's interesting because, I think as of now, Will Anderson is the best edge rusher in this class, but who's to say Tyree Wilson can't be, or who's to say Myles Murphy can't be? They're both bigger guys that can play well in this 4-3 scheme, so I would probably rather trade down than draft Will Anderson and get more assets. Now, I love Will Anderson. If the Bears draft him, I'm all in on it. But I think trading down for more assets is probably the way to go. From Chicago Legend, if we were to get both picks, take Anderson, then trade the other one into the 20s and get a receiver. That'd be interesting. Yeah, trade down to 2. You're talking about that Texans trade down to 2, take Anderson, and then trade down from like 12 or whatever it is, and draft a receiver in the 20s. Maybe a guy like Jalen Hyatt sitting there. Maybe Smith and Jigba in the 20s could make sense. So, yeah, I wouldn't hate that idea at all. Mark Sutt, Bears need to go after DeAndre Hopkins. Listen, I love DeAndre Hopkins. I would love to have him in Chicago. What's a trade going to cost? I'm not giving up my first-round pick this year. Would I give up a 2024 first? Maybe. Would I give up a second this year or next year? For sure in 24 I would. Would I give up, that pick you have from the Ravens? Probably. 50th pick for DeAndre Hopkins. That's pretty good value. So, yeah, I'd be open to that. Will the Bears make the playoffs in 2023? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Here's what I'll say. I think the goal when the season kicks off next year should be to make the playoffs. I don't think this is a team that, we'll see how the offseason goes. I'm not sitting here saying this team should be a Super Bowl contender next year, but you got a lot of needs to fill. I get that. But if you get the right pieces this offseason and you invest in free agency and get the right guys in the draft, you lost a bunch of close games this year. If you flip that around and start winning a lot of those close games, this team, they're going to end up 3-14. They easily could have had 7 or 8 wins, though. Easily. They had the ball with the chance to win late several times, and either the defense couldn't get a stop or the offense couldn't score. So Y for yes and for no. Let us know if you guys think the Bears will make the playoffs next year. From Ben Seaton, veteran 3-tech or veteran right guard? Why not both? Right guard or left guard? The Tevin Jenkins thing is going to be interesting. If he's healthy, he's my right guard. I would probably cut Cody Whitehair this offseason. I think he's a cut candidate. I think you need another guard. You probably need I think you need a right tackle. And I still think you need a center as well. From Paleo, how do you like Elijah Hicks? I think he got the fumble against Buffalo. Yeah, good special teams guy. I don't know if he's a guy that's ready to play in the secondary as a starter, but I think a guy you got in the 7th round, he made the team and made some impact on special teams. Yeah, I think, good value for where he was picked. Michael P., who would we get to upgrade from Kmet? I've tried giving him a chance after chance. I don't see him taking any more steps forward. He took a step forward this year. He's going to have less catches and yards this year, but 6 touchdowns, that's not bad. He's got a chance to cross 500 yards on the season on Sunday. I was hoping for 700 or 800 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns. He's reached the touchdown threshold. Probably not going to get there on yardage unless he goes off this week. But, if his season ends with 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, that's not bad. That's not bad. Is it top 5 tight end in the league? No. but I think he's a starting caliber tight end. I don't think he's an all-pro. I will say this. I think getting like a more receiving type of tight end, like a Dalton Kincaid in the draft or an Evan Ingram in free agency to pair with Kmet could be a lot of fun in this offense. All right, last one here from Ryan R. Do you like this GM better than Ryan Pace? It's way too early to say. Ryan Pace's problem was, see, they're so different. Pace was willing to trade, and not value the draft that much. Poles does want to value the draft. I know he spent that second-round pick on Claypool, but he admitted that that's because the free agency group isn't great next year. So we'll see. Different philosophies. Pace couldn't get the quarterback right. The irony is, by the time he did, I think in Justin Fields, it was too late because he hitched his wagon to Matt Nagy, and that undid him. So too early to say. I like Poles' philosophies. It's time to execute. All right. Appreciate all the questions on today's mailbag video. You guys truly are the best. If you super chatted, shout out to you. We greatly appreciate it. I am Harrison Graham from Bears Now by Chat Sports. Hit that sub button if you haven't. Let's try to get to 58,000 subscribers. All right. Will the Bears make the playoffs next year? And I'm seeing prayers for Damar Hamlin. Latest updates is that he sounds like he had a good night last night. Things trending up, still in the ICU, still in critical condition, but signs of improvement, the quote directly from the Buffalo Bills. So we wish the best for Damar Hamlin here. We will keep you guys up to date on that. Will the Bears make the playoffs? Y for yes and for no. Get some shout-outs. And also did want to mention before we loop this video is Equidemius St. Brown back on a one-year, $1.25 million extension. I like it. He's a guy that you can trust as a number 4, number 5 receiver, big body blocking type, so I'm cool with it. Stamp says yes. Chicago Legend says yes. Matthew says no. So we will see what happens. All right, we're going to send this bad boy on loop. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you missed any of our show, we discussed the Justin Fields injury situation as he is not going to play in Week 18 against the Vikings. If the Bears lose, they have a chance at the number 1 pick. If they win, they will potentially fall to the 4th pick. So hopefully the Bears end up losing. Shouldn't it have the intro video on this, Rolly? Clicked in. Okay, that's all good. All right, that's our show. We're going to send this on loop. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next time. Is it in the recording? You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. And I'll just get to it.